set up. Make sure we're good here. Okay. We are recording an interview of Thomas Carskadan. The interview is being conducted by Adrian Hill from the Wright State University Veteran Voices Project. The interview is being recorded at Entertainment Junction in Westchester, Ohio. It is approximately 1 p.m. on April 29th, 2016. All right, Tom, when and where were you born?
I was born in Cincinnati in 1948.
1948, and who were your parents?
Ray and Gail Carskadan.
Okay, and what were their occupations?
My dad was a postal employee with the Railway Mail Service, and my mom was a housekeeper and a waitress.
Okay. Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I had a brother and two sisters. My oldest brother is deceased, and my younger sister is deceased.
Okay. Did either of them enter the service?
Yeah, my brother was in the Coast Guard and the Navy, matter of fact.
What was his name?
Ray.
Ray?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did he serve at the same time as you did?
No, he served, I think, back during the Korean War.
Oh, okay. All right. So he was an older brother then, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you do, leading up to your service then?
After I graduated from high school, I went straight into the post office. I kind of followed my dad and worked there for a couple of years, and then I enlisted in the Navy. A friend of mine was in aviation, and he pretty much told me how much he enjoyed it because we both used to work on cars and stuff. And so I kind of took his advice and went into the aviation part of it and became a jet engine mechanic while I was in there.
Oh, okay. So how old were you when you enlisted then?
Probably about 20.
Okay. And what year was this?
This was back in, I enlisted in 68.
68. So Vietnam was already kind of
Yeah.
picking up and everything. Okay. Did you figure you would go to Vietnam though when you enlisted?
Not really. I didn't know where I was going to go. I actually went down to Meridian first. After I got out of boot camp, I went to boot camp in Great Lakes, and then I went down to Meridian, Mississippi, and worked in a training squadron down there for a couple years, and then I went out to San Diego and eventually went on the USS Midway and went over to Vietnam on the Midway.
Ah, okay, gotcha. All right. Well, so leading up to enlisting, why did you said you chose the Navy?
Yes.
Correct, because your friend?
Yeah, mostly because a friend of mine that when he was home on leave, he told me about some of the places he had been.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the Mediterranean, though, when he was in. And I really wanted to go to the West Coast because I was hoping to go to the Orient, actually, because I wanted to see Japan and a place like that, which I ended up doing. So I kind of lucked out. You know, they pretty much try to give you what you want, but they don't guarantee it, you know. But while I was down in Meridian, I met a lady down there. We started dating, and we ended up getting married. And she came home with me, and then she died when she was 44. She died, and I had $2 by her. And
How did she pass away?
Cancer.
Cancer. Okay.
Yeah, she pretty heavy smoker and that. But yeah, she passed away when she was only 44, and then we went. A friend of mine I worked at the post office would actually introduce me to my second wife, and she's Korean, and I ended up having a son by her.
Okay. So did you meet her in the United States though? You said she was Korean.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was already here. Actually, she was living with the guy that I worked with at the post office, and she had come up here from Oklahoma. And anyway, I went over for dinner one night. He invited me over, and we started dating.
Oh, okay. And how long were you married to her? Or are you still married?
I've been married to her, maybe 26 years.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you said you went to basic training at Great Lakes.
Yes.
Can you describe what like that first day was like?
It was Great Lakes. I was up there in the wintertime. It was right after Christmas, and don't recommend Great Lakes in the wintertime. It was really cold, and especially in Chicago, right on the lakes. But yeah, summertime is when you want to go to boot camp up there. But of course, I never thought about all that ahead of time. But it was interesting to say the least. But really nice company though that I was in. They were actually a bunch of overweight guys, and they kind of got held back until they could lose some weight and stuff. And I had went to try to get in the band. My brother told me I should try to do that. So, but they had enough drummers, so I ended up hooking up with this other company. All these guys are overweight, and most of them anyway. Some of them were medical and stuff like that. But was a nice company though. We won some flags. They were good guys. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I had the opposite problem. I went to basic training in Missouri in the middle of summer. I wish I was going there in the winter, actually. So, yeah. All right. Well, so do you remember any of your you were Navy, so you guys call them drill instructors or drill sergeants?
Yeah, we had drill instructors. He was actually a machinist mate, and he'd been out to sea for quite a while and hadn't been home for a long time. So he pretty much let our senior guys in the company run the thing, so he could spend more time with his family, you know. And we were kind of fortunate that way that he really wasn't even around that much, except you know, do some different drill things with us, you know.
Okay.
But we were going to class and stuff every day anyway. So.
So this is in your how long was your basic training when you went?
Maybe a couple months, about
months.
2.5 months, something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay. So did they do the whole, you know, right at the beginning, get in your face type thing when you got there?
Oh yeah, they did. That's the whole thing. They do that probably with every service. They try to tear you down and then they build you back up. You know, you're the greatest thing in the world by the time you leave. You know, but yeah, it was neat though. I mean, you know, it's kind of sad on the last day because the guys that you're in the company with, you get pretty close with a few of them. You know,
Sure.
and then it's kind of sad when you have to part. You know, but then after that, I went to school. I lucked out and got a school down in Memphis to go to jet mechanic school. And I went to school down there for maybe a month and a half, and got more detailed on taking care of engines and stuff, you know. I didn't know the first thing about a jet engine when I went in because I was always working on cars and stuff. And but they teach you, you know.
So what was your job title then?
I was a jet engine mechanic called ADJ3, and well, I was ADJ second class by the time I got out, but it was that was our what they called it.
Okay. So you went to basic, and then you went to, what do you guys call it, AIT or tech school?
Yeah, we went to, there's what they call it's like a what do they call that? It's like just the beginners type school, and then a fundamental school.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, I lucked out and got to go to A school. So then that's when they get more deeper into it. And so, you know, the guys, I guess the guys were more mechanical inclined. They let them go on to A school, and I stayed for a few more weeks. And then I really lucked out when I got down to Mississippi, my first base. I went down a day early, and when I was checking in, they needed some people for the shop. And so I got into the calendar inspection shop. That's where they actually bring the plane in the hangar and take the engine out, tear it apart, and look for cracks and stuff. And I loved that work. And it just really makes your service time so much better when you love what you're doing. You know?
Yeah, sure.
So the other guys, most of them got out on the line where they're just directing planes and stuff, and I'm in there in a nice warm shop, you know,
Yeah.
tearing engines apart. You know, so.
Okay. So, what year were you finished with your schooling then?
Maybe right going into 69, something like that. You know.
Okay, and then where did you go from your last school then?
Then from Memphis, I came home on leave, and then I went down to Meridian. It was in Mississippi, and it's the Navy's largest jet training squadron. It had about 90 planes, and it's where they train most of the pilots. Some of them I think go to maybe Florida, and then some go to Texas. There's one down there too, but the biggest base is in Mississippi, and they just train pilots, you know, how to fly.
So that was your actual job, was to train?
Just take the engine out of the plane. We had one come in like every 90 days. It had to be calendar inspector, what they call it, and take the plane out of the engine and then change all the filters and just take the compressor off, look for cracks, stuff like that.
Okay, gotcha.
But,
okay, so did you actually did you end up going to Vietnam during your time, or?
yeah, after that I went to San Diego. My wife was already pregnant by then with our first baby, and 5 days after I left on the ship, she had our first daughter, so I didn't get to see her till she was almost 7 months old. You know, came off the plane when we came back and walked down the plank. She said, "There's your daughter," you know. So we went into the cafe there at the airport in Meridian, and I just wanted to get a cup of coffee and just look at her, you know. So we went in there and sat down. I sat her down on the table in front of me. We just sat there and looked at each other. And I swear, I think she looked at my wife and was like, "This is it," you know. But she was a doll baby, had a little bunny rabbit hat on. And, yeah, it was an experience.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so your wife is about to burst. for lack of a better word, and you're getting sent to Vietnam. I mean, what was going through your head? You know.
Well, the main thing was is you just keep thinking, I got to stay alive. I got to see this kid, you know. And she would send me pictures and even tape recordings. I had a little reel tape deck that I would play recordings of her laughing and crying and all that stuff. So that really helped a lot. You know, it just kind of motivates you to hang in there. You know. So.
Yeah. My dad said when his dad was in Vietnam, he would send him recordings back from Vietnam, and that's the only time he got to hear him when he was a kid, because when he was overseas. So that's interesting. You actually had a projector then?
Yeah. I had a I had a little real portable thing ran on batteries, and she had one too, and she sent them to me, and I played them on mine. You know. So.
That's nice. Okay, so getting to Vietnam, how'd you get there? Was it plane, ship?
We left out of Alameda, California. We flew up from San Diego to Alameda, and then we caught the ship up there. And I was in a F-4 Phantom outfit, you know, beautiful plane. Just, you know, of course, that was like the plane back then. Mm-hmm. And had two J79 engines in it, which were made at General Electric. And so I got to work on them for almost a year before I got out. And so we're kind of just like riding on the ship, because we're aviation. And whenever we'd come into port, and as soon as that plane went down, we could go ahead and go on liberty, you know, because that was, you know, we didn't have to worry about taking care of the ship or anything like that, you know, because we were just aviation, you know. Mm-hmm. So that was nice. Got to go to Japan, maybe 3 different ports, and Philippines, we went there about 5 times. Really liked the Philippines. And Hong Kong, got to go to Hawaii. I mean, it was just like, that was what I wanted. I wanted to travel, you know, and get to see something, you know.
So this was all while you're on your way over to Asia?
Yeah, some was on the way over. Like, we stopped at Hawaii on the way over, and then on the way back just for a couple of days. And then once we got over to Vietnam, every time we'd go offline for maybe 5-6 days, we'd go to the Philippines, or sometimes we'd go to Japan for a couple of days. Or we'd go to, one time we went to Hong Kong for 5 days, and had the best steak of my life in Hong Kong.
Really?
Yeah, Kobe steak, yeah. Unbelievable. I'm not that much on steak, but when we went in, of course, we kind of followed the guys that had been there before, and they said, you have to have Kobe steak. And we went to this restaurant, it's called the 747, and they priced things in the restaurant, you know, the highest down to the lowest, and the highest was the Kobe steak, but it was like $6.
Oh, okay.
So everybody was getting a Kobe steak, so I said, well, I don't want to be the odd man out, so I got one too. And we stopped there every day on the way in just to get that Kobe steak.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So, what about actually going to Vietnam? What did you know? Did you stay on the ship when you were in Vietnam, or did you?
Yeah. We just took care of the plane, you know, and the pilots would. When you're on the ship, it's different than I was in Meridian. Meridian, we just took care of all the planes. But on the ship, you have your plane. And they even put your name on the side of the plane as the plane captain of that plane. And then they have pilots' names up on the, of course, different pilots fly it, though. But that's your plane. That's like your baby the whole time you're out at sea. And I was fortunate that was a good plane. I took care of it pretty well, you know, and they only went down for scheduled maintenance, which I was real proud of. But they flew day and night, you know, and at nighttime, of course, we didn't have any lights on, you know. It was really dark. We had a few guys fall overboard, but we were fortunate we got them back on, though, you know. But,
okay, so were you guys just off the coast of Vietnam then when you were? Yeah. And then they were flying
right
missions
over in
out?
Tonkin Gulf, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they were. So I imagine every day, were they flying missions every day?
Yeah, just about every day, yeah, when we were out there on the line, yeah. And sometimes they'd be at nighttime. You could always tell when they found something that they really wanted to get rid of, because they would normally put 600-pound bombs on there, but every once in a while they would have to put these 1,000-pounders up there, and then we had to kind of help the ordnance guys, you know, to load them, because it's pretty heavy.
Yeah, so the main mission for you then was to support the jets that were going to be doing bombing runs?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think I got the exact number. You said you went to training school. How long was your training for all this? Because it sounds like something you'd have to...
For the jet mechanic?
Yeah.
I was in Memphis 2-3 months, something like that, yeah. But it was pretty intense training. Of course, then when I got to Meridian, they train you more just on that plane. You know, we had what they call T2A Buckeyes there. I think they were J38s or something they had in there. They were old engine, and a lot of maintenance on them. But it was, I mean, we flew them a lot too, you know, because we have to train these guys, you know. So, but yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so while you're, you said you're at the Gulf of Tonkin. Did you guys ever encounter any problem with the enemy out there?
Not too much with Vietnam, but we did have the Russians fly over us, mainly just to see what we were doing, where we're at, and it was mostly, you know, we would scramble and we'd send up, you know, of course the F-4 Phantom was the main thing they had on the catapults all the time, and we'd send them up to more or less escort them. We'd have one F-4 behind them, and then there was one underneath the. Usually they have a Russian Bear fly over, or they had a Russian Badger, which is a little bit smaller bomber, but the Bear is a big one. And but like I say, it was just like a Cold War type thing. You know, they just look at us and we'd look at them. We even had pictures in our cruise book that they gave us at the end of the cruise. These guys looking out of their windows, you know, waving at us and giving peace signs and stuff. But anyway, they had orders though that if the bomb bay doors open, shoot them down. You know. And luckily that never happened.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Okay, so how long did it take? You said you guys scrambled pretty quickly to get somebody up to
they
escort
actually
them.
slept in that plane on the catapult.
Oh.
Even when we weren't flying, like at nighttime, if they went down and we didn't fly, they'd still have two F-4s on the catapults with the pilots come out with their pillow and they just sleep in the cockpit. And if they went to general quarters, they just threw the pillow down to you and you know, fire them off. You know, it took maybe 20 seconds.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
Yeah, and they were gone. Yeah,
that's incredible.
And they had the helicopter the same way. He was hovering off the deck before they even shot him off. You know, so.
That's really interesting. All right. So what was you know, did you guys do any other things? So, you know, your regular duties, obviously maintenance on the plane and everything. Any other duties besides that, day in and day out?
No, like I say, we were aviation, so all we pretty much took care of was the aviation part of it. The ship's company pretty much took care of the ship stuff, which I was grateful for. But when we came into port, though, we would do you know, some charity work and stuff, like for in the Philippines and stuff. You know, help out, maybe go to orphanages and stuff and do some repairs and just stuff like that. You know, but. Yeah, they had things that you could sign up for, you know, if you wanted to go do stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, did you guys ever actually go into Vietnam then? Did you ever touch land over there?
I went into Da Nang one time to help a buddy of mine, you know, with his plane, because they had to do some major repair work on the naval base there. But then we just came back. They took us in by helicopter and brought us back.
Okay.
And then one time, a friend of mine I went to school with in Memphis, he was in a helicopter outfit on our ship, and I told him I was into photography, and so I wanted to get some pictures. So he finally got me a ride, a hop on the helicopter one day, and I got some of them shooting the planes off and then recovering them. You know, got some great pictures from up there. And then
Do you still have them?
while we were waiting, after they fired them off, we was waiting for them to recover the planes. We went over to the destroyer. It was on a Sunday, and our chaplain was over there giving a church service. So we went over and picked up the chaplain with our hoist, and then found out too that it's like tradition when you bring their mail. We brought them their mail to them too, the destroyer escort. They give you ice cream to eat on the way back, so that was a big treat, you know, for us. And we ate that on the way back, and then we watched them recover the planes, and you know, just do like a plane guard in case something happens. And then after they recovered all of them, we landed, and that was it.
What do you mean recover the planes?
That's where they've been on a mission, and they come back and they just you know, recover all of them on the flight deck, you know,
Oh, okay.
with the arresting cable and stuff.
Gotcha.
I found out when you're on ship, you get, it's amazing how you get used to it. Like, I was in the back part of the ship, so at nighttime when you're trying to sleep, these planes are landing. It's just like you have a plane landing on your roof, you know, and you hear this big bang, and then there's a zzz where the cable goes out, and then you hear this click, 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 you know, where they're recovering the cable. And then the next one, within about 20, 30 seconds, bam, zzz, and this goes on until all these planes come back on, you know. And then if you're in the front part of the ship, if you sleep up there, you got to listen to that catapult all night shooting it off, you know. And I mean, it's just like a big boom, you know, all night long. But it's amazing how the body will just, you're so tired anyway from working 12 hours. It was like 12 on, 12 off. And you're so tired that your body just ignores all that. You don't even hear it. And I would sleep straight through. But if that general quarters alarm goes off, I mean, you're up. You just jump up and you go do your thing.
Now, what would those go off for?
It's like if there's a man overboard, or if there's any kind of an accident, or sometimes it's just a drill. And you have to go up and you have a certain place you have to muster so they can take the everybody's name and then get it right up to the quarter deck and find out who's missing or whatever. So.
Okay. So what was the food like on ship?
Good. Yeah, it was pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, Navy's always been, at least all the places I went, the Navy's always been pretty good as far as food and everything. Pretty good cooks. Yeah.
Okay. And then you said you did go into Da Nang one time. Were you nervous at all going from your comfort zone, the ship, to somewhere else, or?
Yeah, a little bit, because you're not familiar with it and you don't know what to expect, But in a way too, though, you're wanting to go because you want to see what it's like.
Yeah,
So
sure.
It's kind of two different ways there,
Sure.
But the other thing too is like when we were out at sea. Over in that area, you get a lot of typhoons and stuff, in the ocean, and it's just like you're going through a hurricane out there. But we would always go out to sea to ride it out, and we had to put like 30-something chains on each plane whenever we went through a typhoon like that. And then about every half hour, you had to go up and they would take turns, so you only had to do it maybe once or twice a night, but you had to go up with another guy and tighten the chains down because they would vibrate loose. And you just literally start in the front of the ship and just kind of slide all the way back to the rear, and just tighten up chains all the way back, And at nighttime, it's kind of scary, We're like 70 feet above the water on the flight deck, and the water was literally coming over the flight deck, That's how high the waves were and stuff. But that was probably the scariest part of the whole trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you were there for how long?
I was over there maybe 4 months, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Over in Vietnam. Yeah.
Was that shorter than most other guys you'd talk to, or is that normal for the Navy at the time?
I really don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I know most guys like that were drafted will go do their year and then it's over. They're done after a year in Vietnam. But
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
I was in the Navy 4 years, and then when I went over there, that was right at the end of my, tour of duty in the Navy. But yeah, we were there about 3 or 4 months, I guess. But I enjoyed it though, especially like I say, the traveling part of it.
Okay. Well, you said coming back, you stopped at a couple places on the way back, and then how did you get home?
We came back to. I'll tell you, the last thing you see when you leave, at least on the West Coast, is the Golden Gate Bridge. And on the way back, that's the first thing you see when you're coming back. So then you know you're finally home. And they had some people up there, I guess they're probably relatives or friends of some of the guys on the ship, but they had put a big banner up across the bridge saying, "Welcome home, USS Midway." And then you do what they call line the rail. Everybody puts their dress clothes on, dress uniform, and you line the whole rail as you're coming into port. And like I say, we came in Alameda, and then they have a plane waiting to take you back down to San Diego. At least they did us, and that was it.
So what was that like? What was your kind of emotions going through as you're coming into port, I guess?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, you realize you finally completed your tour then, once you see that bridge and everything and make it back home. And it was the same thing when we came back home to, I went back to Meridian and like I say, and saw my baby for the first time, and me and my wife packed up and came up here because I had the job waiting for me at the post office, and my seniority had still gone up while I was gone and everything. So at least I had a job waiting on me, with ready-made family now. But that was the other thing, when you come around on I-75 and you come around the hill and there's the skyline of Cincinnati, then you're home, So that was a great picture.
Awesome. So how much longer did you have in the Navy after you got home?
Just a couple weeks actually after I got back. So
go on terminal leave
I didn't have to
then?
wait too long, yeah. And that was a good thing because I was anxious to get home and see that baby,
So were you in the States for a couple weeks before you got to go home?
Yeah. I was. I just told her to stay there in Meridian, and next one's coming all the way out to California, and went ahead and took care of my discharge papers and stuff, and flew on back to Meridian. So.
Okay, so what were you doing? I guess because you said that overall, how long did your training take with basic and your tech school and all that? How long did everything take?
I went in right after Christmas, so I was in, like I say, Great Lakes maybe a couple months, and then I went down to Memphis. I was probably down there about a month and a half. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good part too. The more training you do, the more service time you're using up.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of eating into that 4 years you got to put in. So I tried to get as much training and schooling as I could before I had actually. But I really enjoyed, like I say, the work once I got out and started working on the planes. And the guy in the shop that I work with too, a lot of nice guys, and it was interesting work, and it was kind of challenging. But like I said, I liked working on cars and stuff anyway, and this was totally advanced from that, and it was just so much more. I would highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna pause this real quick.
Okay.
All right, we are back recording the interview of Thomas Carskadan, coming back from a short break. So you said, you did you had a few months of training and everything, but then how long from when you finished your training did you actually go over for your deployment?
To my first station, down in Meridian.
Where's Meridian at? I'm sorry.
It's in Mississippi.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long were you in Mississippi then?
Maybe a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because actually, a lot of our people from our class, where I went to school in Memphis, got orders down to Meridian because they were having a big turnover at that time. So it was kind of unusual. There's maybe 25, 30 of us that went down there to Meridian, which was neat because we all knew each other from school, and so we kind of hung out together and stuff down there. But then after about 6 months down in Meridian, some of these guys started getting what they call duration orders, which means you're going to be here until you get out of the Navy. So I was kind of expecting it myself because a lot of the guys I went to school with were getting these orders, and I told my wife at that time, I said, that's one reason why we went ahead and she got pregnant, because I figured I'm going to be here till the end. I probably wouldn't even see a ship.
Mm-hmm.
So then no sooner did she get pregnant, and maybe 3 or 4 months pregnant, and I get orders to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I went out there, I flew her out just so she could see what California was like, and we kind of hung out, and it was San Diego. I mean, if there's one place I could live beside Cincinnati, it's San Diego. There's a lot to do out there. It's beautiful, no smog. I mean, it was great, great city. But then I flew her back maybe a month or so before the baby was going to come, and then I drove the car back, and I stayed there with her until it's time for me to go catch the ship. So.
Okay. All right, so you got back from Vietnam, spent a couple weeks in California, and then you get home, get to see the baby, have your moment with the baby. What did you do after that? You said you started working at the post office?
Yeah, we drove up here, and we stayed with my mom and dad for a while until we found us a trailer, and we just started living in the trailer then for maybe we were there 6 months or so. We were renting it, and then we got us an apartment, and we stayed there until we had our first house built. And then
You had it built?
yeah, and then we had it built, and then my youngest daughter came along, and everything was great. Everything was hunky dory until she come down with the cancer. She only lasted a week too. So
Once they found out?
yeah, she thought she had a touch of pneumonia, and they went in and they started running some tests, and they said she had a rapid heartbeat, so they took some fluid off from around her heart, and they found cancer cells in it. So then they started checking other places, and I forget what the name of the cancer was, but it was like gets in your blood and it just goes everywhere. She was an organ donor, and the only thing they could take was her eyes and some skin. Everything else would just ate up. But she went in on a Thursday, and by the next Thursday, she was gone. My first daughter was married by then, and I think she had her first boy by then too already. But the second daughter was still, I think she was a senior in high school. And,
That's rough.
yeah, she was only 44. The only good part was she only had to suffer for a week, So,
Yeah.
But then we had to, they told us, they said she's probably not going to go home. So we just started planning a funeral, So it's kind of rough, especially on the youngest daughter.
Yeah.
But she didn't get to see her get married. And then when my youngest daughter had her first daughter, she named her after my wife, And the thing was, my youngest daughter really looks more like our side of the family, but the daughter looks just like my first wife. and she named her after her. So
Okay.
she couldn't have given her a better name.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
And then the second one, I was like 40-something years old by the time I got married the second time to this Korean lady.
How many years after this was that?
It was about 3 or 4 years after my first wife died.
Mm-hmm.
And but I wouldn't really plan on having any more kids, you know.
Sure.
'Cause I'm 40-something years old. And anyway, she got pregnant, so sometimes you don't know what's best, you know.
Yeah.
And I had a son by her, and it couldn't have worked out better. This boy I had is just unbelievable. He's very smart. He went through UC. It's always on the dean's list, and he plays like six different instruments. He was in a marching band, orchestra, and all that. Plays the piano like Liberace, and you know, he plays solos, and he takes care of the music director's piano playing and stuff whenever she's gone, you know, in church, and couldn't work that better.
Awesome. And how old is he now?
He's 24 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just graduated from UC a couple years ago, and now he's working as an accountant, making money. So that's
Yeah. There you go. What else?
that's a
can you,
good thing.
It's a good thing after college, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I graduate tomorrow. I'm
Oh,
ready
okay.
to start getting on the money
Yeah,
train
he
myself.
he went to Wright State every year for their band camp up there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah, interesting.
he really enjoyed it up there. You know, they stayed right there at the campus up there.
And what years? What years does he go to UC?
Well, he graduated in 2010 from Lakota East, and then he went right up to, went right to UC, and then he stayed there 4 years.
Yeah, because I went to UC from 09 to 10.
Oh, okay.
Let's see, I went 09, the fall, and then till 2011, till the spring of 2011. Then I went to basic training, did my deployment, came back, and then now I go to Wright State. But so I probably came across him a couple times maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was his name?
He stayed at home. His name's Josh, and but he stayed at home, but he commuted, every day.
Okay.
And he really liked UC, especially the music part of it.
Yeah, they had a good music program there.
But yeah, but he majored in accounting, and he worked at one place for a couple years, and then he just started a couple months ago over at Champion Windows, and now he's making a little more money, a little better benefits, and
Sure.
so he's doing good.
Interesting. All right. So after you get home, so you did the post office. Did you retire from that?
Yeah,
Okay.
43 years. Yeah.
Okay. And then what about after that? How long ago was that you retired?
I've been retired maybe 5-6 years now.
Okay. And then you came to work here at Entertainment Junction?
Yeah, I was actually building this place while I was still working there, and then after we got this built, I said, I've been there long enough, so I went ahead and retired. Now I just work here at Entertainment 2 or 3 days a week, and now we also work up at Children's Hospital 3 days. It's actually 3 evenings, just 4 hours at night. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I go up there and sort the laundry and take away the bio and the trash, and got to stay active, So, but I went up there to volunteer because this place, the train place, is pretty slow in the wintertime after Christmas, and so I went up there to volunteer. And this old lady at the desk said, "Well, they're taking applications right now," and I said, "Well, I don't want to work full time. I'm retired." And she said, "Well, they'll take part time." I said, "Well, okay, let me have one." I filled it out. Next thing you know, I'm working there 3 days a week. So. But it's a beautiful hospital, though.
Yeah, I've taken my daughter there actually. So
the reason I went there to volunteer, when I was in the post office, I came across this dog at the SPCA, and we brought him home. And I'm not a dog trainer, but somehow I was able to train this dog to do a lot of crazy tricks and stuff. And like get me a beer out of a cooler, and get my slippers, get the newspaper, and then people at work would give me crazy ideas. But anyway, we had him down to quite a few tricks, and the SPCA was going to have a contest for the most wonderful pet. So I told my daughter, let's take him down there and show him all the tricks he's learned. And out of 50 dogs, he ends up coming in first. So then the SPCA says, well, we want to use him in the opening day parade for the Reds. And, so he kind of became their mascot for a while. And we would go to, different things for them. And they would give us pictures and things because we went to Children's Hospital and a lot of nursing homes. But they would give us, the SPCA would give us these pictures and stuff to hand out to the kids, in the hospital of puppies and kittens and stuff,
Yeah.
So it was a nice relationship.
Yeah, that's awesome. You say you helped build this place, the Entertainment Junction. Were you one of the founders, or?
Actually, this was a dream of Don Aders. He's the owner of Entertainment, and he started talking about building something. He don't even have a location yet. But this was a furniture warehouse when he came across it, and they were going to leave, and he was going to buy it, and just gutted the inside of it and started from scratch.
Now, how did you know him?
He was in our train club way before we ever started on entertainment.
Oh, because you've been trained your whole
Yeah,
life then.
yeah.
Okay.
He was in our train club for a few years before we even thought about, or he thought about entertainment. And then he said we'd go around the train shows, and he put this clipboard out and a big poster of what entertainment was pretty much going to look like. And he had it pretty much planned out by then. And he said, if you'd like to help build it, volunteer. He said, just sign up and and come help us build it. I thought, well, people ain't gonna come here and help build this place for free, And they started signing up like crazy.
Really?
And we got people from all different walks of life, but some of them are engineers and that built the bridges out here and that, and they build them just like real bridges,
And it's all volunteers?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
all volunteers when we built it. Now I work here part-time. I get paid, but it's just minimum wage,
Yeah.
But it's more fun than anything. I just enjoy seeing the kids enjoy it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my son loved it when we came. So, okay. Well, what about let's go into a couple of reflections. So, what do you think, like the military? How did it affect your life then?
It was a big part of my life. That's why, like I say, I tried to keep the military involved in all the train stuff here and that, because I want them to feel like they're part of this when they come through at veterans and stuff. And any veterans functions, like I say, I just went on the honor flight. That was definitely one of the highlights of my life. The biggest part that I enjoyed about it was seeing the reaction of these older guys, especially from Korea and World War II. I mean, they'd come off that plane and these people come up and welcome them back, and just tears coming down their cheeks, that really made it for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we came back from Vietnam, we didn't get any kind of reception like that.
Yeah, I forgot to ask you about that. I mean, did you guys have any negative or positive?
Nothing too negative. It was just people just kind of ignored it.
Yeah.
It was just like they didn't even want to talk about it, and so it was. It was. I mean, it was an unpopular war. It makes me mad even to this day when I go to see the wall. Because it's very moving for me, and I'm sure it is all Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
But I have friends of mine I went to school with. One guy was a good friend of mine. He was in the marching band with me in high school, and every time I see the wall, I always have to go and touch his name. But it just makes you mad. You think these are all brothers and of somebody, or their husband or son, and it just doesn't. I look at it and say, for what?
Sure.
But so it's kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you feel that your country asked you to go, so I mean you should be celebrated when you get back.
Yeah.
But it's just sad that we lost so many lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the way that veterans are treated now is a lot different. Like when I came home, we had practically a parade, and
Yeah.
and I'm thinking like I can't imagine coming home to people. If you have stories about people getting spit on, you come back from hell for a year and then
Yeah.
get spit on. It's just.
But I mean, even the World War II veterans, they had a big celebration,
Sure,
when they
yeah.
won the war. But then now they built this big World War II monument up there, and a lot of them have said, no, I'm not going to go see it. I just don't have the money, or I have no way to get there, or my health, or whatever it is. And this guy that started the honor flight thing, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just grown like crazy.
Yeah.
Every city is taking this thing up now,
Yeah.
and they're trying to hurry up and get these guys up there before they die.
Mhm.
And so it's a great thing. It's a really great thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there any it's gonna go to the Library of Congress where people can view it? Is there anything you would want to leave? Any message? Future generations maybe, or other veterans, or anything?
The main thing I would probably want is for our politicians and that really think about it before they get into any kind of conflict thing. Just because where's it going to go? How many lives is it going to cost us? And is it going to be worth it? That's probably the main thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes it can't be helped. But I would hope that they would really try other things before they would just go to battle.
Okay.
But,
Okay. Anything else that you think we missed out, or you wanted to touch on?
probably the main thing is come to entertainment, see the trains.
Yeah.
I went from jets to trains.
Yeah.
But I think it's a neat place, especially for kids and that. But I have a lot of the grandparents, especially the grandpas. They'll say they'll bring the kids up here, and they've never been here before, and they'll come up and say, I'll be back by myself later on this week, because they just want to check it out
Yeah.
better.
Without worrying about the kids. Sure.
Yeah. Then they can really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, if they haven't been here, I think it's just something for kids.
Yeah.
And I even tell people when I give them coupons or whatever that you might want to come by yourself first,
Yeah.
and then you'll see what it's all about, and then you can bring the kids the next time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, great. Thank you for doing this interview, and thank you for your service.
Okay, thank you.